that you know each and every one of us, that you have even counted the hair on our head. Thank you for this beautiful event and for the life of my beloved Doreen. Thank you that we can celebrate that together, all the wisdom that you have entrusted her with and that she's put into this book. And we ask now for your blessings for this very day, for our lives, and also for this very good food. We bless it all, Jesus, in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please be seated.
So I'm going to hope that we are all on the same page. And without further ado, I'm going to ask a lady who's clad in white. She's not called Purity, but she's Purity. Kiza, Madame Kiza, there's a small thing I would like you to do. If you would be so kind as to grace us with that very sultry voice of yours, yeah?
Let me tell you a secret about survival. The worst 3 steps are deciding that you have had enough of what is happening. The second step is make us change and move on. And the third and equally important step is forgiving yourself for your past mistakes. That is how you survive and become a better, wiser person. Guilt, anger, resentment, and wishing you had done things differently will not get you anywhere. They will keep you trapped in the past, and you will not grow. I made terrible choices in my life because I was stubborn and headstrong, but I survived those choices because I was stubborn and headstrong. That is the paradox of who I am and why I'm here writing this book.
How was January?
January is beautiful, especially that I've had to, I was able to come back home in 9 years. 9 years.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's a long time, huh?
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
So that's one of the beauties of January for me.
Yeah. Have you noticed anything that has changed about this country since you were,
I just can't count the borders.
There you go. There you go.
Too many.
Okay. First of all, I want to say that as a person who's read both these books, well done, for starters. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Maya Angelou once said one of the saddest things is having a story that is untold, yeah? And I want to thank you for sharing these stories. First, tell us, who is Doreen?
Before I even go that far, I'd like to paraphrase one very famous author, and also I think she's a film writer as well, Rhonda.
Oh, Rhonda.
Yeah, she once said, and I'm paraphrasing, I'm not really quoting her.
Yeah.
She once said that public speaking is one of the most nerve-wracking situations.
Yeah, that's true. That's
so
true.
guys, before we get into this, if you feel any nerves from me, which is already happening to me, just relate with me. I'm only human. I'm shaking, but we'll get into it.
Yeah. Also, I will say, if you have any nerves, you're doing a good job hiding them, because you look relaxed. The other thing is, Doreen. Most Doreens that I know are D-O-R-E-E-N. This is D-O-R-I-N-E. Yeah. Again, who are you in the sense of now that you're here? How has your journey been in life? What has brought you here?
Firstly, let me address the D-O-R-I-N-E.
Please.
In the 70s, I think when my parents had me, there was lots of Doreen names going around. So my mom wanted my Doreen to stand out. So the Doreen is the D-O-R-E-E-N, and the Doreen is the D-O-R-I-N-E.
Okay. Standing out.
Yes.
Round of applause to the parents.
Thank you.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay,
So,
go on.
So you're asking who is
Doreen? Yes.
Doreen.
Yes.
So that question is beautiful. Thank you very much for that question. It's brilliant. But then again, also, it's a prompting of me to give my whole entire life here.
Yeah.
But if you may allow me to summarize that into just one word, I would expound on it later.
Okay.
I would call myself love.
Love.
Doreen is love.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that one is entirely based also on my spirituality, my belief system as a Christian, as a child of God, I call myself. I like to quote the Bible verse, the first commandment. Which one is the most important commandment? Which is love your God with all your heart, your might, and soul. Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's my grounding.
Love.
In that whatever I do, whether it's my role as a mother, my role as a friend, as a sister, as a cousin, as a stranger even,
Yeah.
as anyone, to anyone, I come in that form of love.
Love.
In whatever I do.
The greatest gift, is it not?
Yes.
Love.
So, yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. So with also my stories that I tell in my books are a form of sharing my life, so that whoever it reaches, it may touch them in the way that I feel the need is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Love is a pretty firm foundation, you know,
Yeah.
and it's a safe place to begin and to end your life anyway. Which now brings me to the iron ego. I'm trying to reconcile the iron ego because, first of all, those two words, iron ego, they have a sense of, of toughness. They have a sense of, of accomplishment,
Yeah.
Where does iron ego mom come from?
Okay, now I was very, very intentional when I was choosing the title of that book, because obviously that book, as you may have found when you read the book, I don't quote anyone. It's just me. That's my story. I tell
Wow.
my story very raw,
Yeah.
very vulnerably. And I had hit rock bottom when I decided to write that book. I came to a place when I had it. And my style of coping is by journaling. I journal a lot. When I go out there and have a bad day, I'm going to come home and write about everything whether it's good or bad. So I had journaled over the years, and I had journaled and journaled. So every time I went through the journal, I saw that I had a pile of things. And then I said to myself, you know what, I think I'm best to put this in a document, to document this story. It was hard, because that's me putting my rags out there, But I just felt the urge to do that, so I knew that was where my healing was going to come from. So I thought that I needed some really powerful words that were going to just bring me out. So iron is steel, as we all know it. It's strong, it's tough. That's one of the reasons I chose that word, iron. Then ego is arguably the strongest, most visionary bird. Actually, God, if there's any two creatures that God relates himself to, it's the ego and the Lion of Judah. So the ego does not only fly, but it soars. So I wanted not only to fly, but I wanted to soar high and above. And obviously, Mom, I'm the mom. So which brings me to Iron Ego Mom.
Wow. It's not only is it impressive, it's also, this is a journey of discovery. And like you very rightly say, sometimes spilling your secrets or sharing your story with the world, it can be scary, because you don't know how they're going to perceive it, you don't know how they're going to judge you.
Yeah.
But this is a very bold move, for starters. It's a very, very bold move to put your story out there, and it may touch 1, 2, 5 lives. And as a determination coach, I just want to ask very quickly, because they tell us that the good thing about teaching is you're teaching twice. You're teaching the person you're speaking to, and yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So when you say these words of encouragement, when you say all these nice things to people out there, you're also saying them to yourself, right?
Absolutely.
You say you were at rock bottom,
Yeah.
and there's been a transformation over time.
Yes.
If you look at the Doreen before
Yeah.
this story and the Doreen after this story, what differences do you see?
I wouldn't recognize her.
Oh, wow.
The one before,
Yeah, that's somebody
I don't
else.
relate with her. I would look at her. I wouldn't even want to hang out with her.
What?
She was so different to
Yeah.
the one that's here right now.
Yeah.
There's been a whole new growth right
Yeah.
there.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Growth is it's just a beautiful thing, you
It
know.
is,
It's a very beautiful thing.
absolutely.
And when you share this story with the rest of us, I mean, somebody out there will also hopefully grow, you know, after reading this. I now want to move to this thing here.
Yeah.
First of all, you look very gorgeous in this.
Thank
You know that? This looks very nice. For those of you who haven't seen the book again, yeah, this is Doreen. This is not some, you know, angel or whatever. This is Doreen. And on the top here, I see you with a number of foodstuffs, yeah?
Yes.
And the book is Garden to Gut,
Yeah.
cooking your way to vitality through longevity. First, before I even go any further, where does Garden to Gut come from?
Now, I'm glad you asked me that, because for me, it's this entire book is at the very core of my heart. Yeah. So Garden to Gut comes from a story of mine that involves like gut-related issues. At some point, when I was young, as I was growing up, I had situations with constipation, like I was always constipated, and I didn't know why. So I had to take laxatives. My mom there, she would give me laxatives, she'd give me fruits, all sorts of things to, you know, help me with that situation. And I didn't know what was playing up with me. So with time, I thought, you know, if you can, so many problems can be solved on earth. Let's try and play around with food. Maybe there's a problem somewhere. Because when I eat cheese, this is how I feel. When I don't eat cheese, I feel slightly better. When I drink milk, so it was a try and error thing to begin with, you know. So then I discovered that I was lactose intolerant after so many years. In my 40s, that's when I realized. So I'd suffered the whole time with those gut-related issues. So I decided to go on the quest and start to look for a way to heal my body with food, which is why I come across all those authors that had written books on food activists, my favorite being Michael Pollan, who is so good with food. And then I realized that you know what, maybe there is someone out there who could be suffering with the same situation. So I decided to document the book. So it comes from that story of how I had this chronic constipation. Yeah.
I get the sense that you're the kind of person who looks at food as, you know, not just something you consume to fill your stomach, but as medicine, you know, it's healing. And in some parts in this book, you look at it from a very deep inspirational, you know, point of view.
Yes.
Food is not just something that you interface with and eat and move on, and it's something that lingers in you. It kind of hovers over you. I want to understand from your opinion, this you talk about, you know, gut-related issues, yeah?
Yes.
And the health of the body is very much a result of the actions, you know, and the choices that we make. What kind of food-related choices are people making that you look at and you think, that's not a good choice?
Yes.
That's not a good choice. That's a poor choice. As a person who has experienced and lived this life where you've related with food on a very, very personal level, what are some of those things that you've seen?
So the thing with food is that on my journey of learning more about food, because I actually went the extra mile of going to a cookery school to learn more and more about food, I realized that the food that you cook yourself is much better than the food that you'll go and have somewhere else in the restaurant.
Oh, really?
Absolutely, because when you're cooking your own food, you're mindful. You're
Okay.
mindful about how much oil you put. For instance, and I'm not being prejudiced here or racist, for instance, I wouldn't eat in an Indian restaurant. There's a ton of oil in that food. Not in a bad way,
Yeah.
but that's the way they cook their food. However, I'm sure that if I use my olive oil and cook maybe a couple of tablespoons with it, or whatever it is that I put, that I incorporate with my food, I have done it myself.
Yeah.
So number one, cook your own food.
Okay.
And the other thing that I've noticed is, like in the words of Michael Pollan, also that food scientist, he says, don't buy your food where you buy your gas. Like you don't go to the petrol station, because when you go to buy your gas, you jump into the gas station shop, the whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then you grab a bag of crisps. So don't buy your food where you buy your gas.
Oh, wow. That's profound. That's very
Absolutely.
profound. That's very profound. Don't buy your food where you buy your gas.
So in other words, I think he's trying to say that don't just go out there and just buy all these snacks.
Yeah.
Be mindful. And also, the KFCs are not very far from gas stations. You might
They
cross
are at
over.
gas stations, many of them.
That
Yeah.
smile sounded like you
Yeah. Yeah,
once in a
I'm
while
guilty, you know.
spoil yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's what I've learned, that people are not as mindful as in taking that extra mile
Yeah.
to cook their own food.
Yeah.
You asked about how I seriously take food. Food for me, when I had started my transformational journey, I learned that food can be a way of meditation.
Is that so?
Absolutely. When I'm in the kitchen, sometimes my husband, when he comes and finds me all drawn into the cutting of the onions, and then he says to me, I remember a couple of times he said to me, oh, you're so into your thing today.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yes, I'm all in here, because you're meditating, you're thinking. Food is a constant reminder of good things. Like my grandmother,
Yeah.
I remember many things, Luganda terms of in Tula,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Vava, you know, the
Katunkuma,
greens,
yeah.
Katunkuma. You know, there's a lot going on with food there.
Yeah.
Food is a way to show love. If I cook a meal, I cook it in love. In fact, I'm always complaining, and my husband knows it. I always say that my children don't appreciate my food. So every time I make a soup and he says, oh, darling, this soup was really nice. For me, it's in the heart. I'm the beneficiary here, because
Wow.
he has appreciated what I've made. So there's a lot more to food than just filling up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess it kind of explains why to every child growing up, the best cook out there is their mom. Because moms prepare food with love, right?
Yes.
And nobody does that better than your mother. Which now brings me to something. I want to first get a sense of, because you say your children, sometimes you feel like they don't, they don't understand that love aspect that is, with the food. And the internet today has made food look like something else, right?
Yes.
So, for example, it's better to have good-looking food as opposed to tasty food or healthy food, right? Because if you're going to take a picture, if you're going to take a video, it's better that the food looks good as opposed to the food actually tasting good. What do you think? And there's something you mentioned in this book about how social media has kind of made people drift away from what the actual values of food are. What would you like to see, especially for the young generation, people who spend 16, 17, 18 hours on their phones and on their tablets, and on what exactly would you like them to? How would you like them to see food? How would you like them to interface with food? How would you like them to kind of understand that food is not just something that you interact with as you're doing other things?
Right.
Food is supposed to be an activity or a process of its own. How would you like young people now to kind of get into that understanding? Because they don't know these things.
No, they don't.
If somebody has grown up eating at KFC and that's all they know. You can't
Yes,
blame them,
I
right?
know.
So how would you like them to kind of get an understanding of this value that you put on food?
Yes, okay. Just going back to the first part of the question you asked regarding how the internet, social media has affected our children as they're growing up. I came across this journal that said that today there's something called food porn. Like, people take pictures of their food,
Yep.
and I'm guilty as charged. But my intentions are totally different.
Yeah.
Because I cook my food from scratch, and if anyone of my friends here has been following me on social media, I have what they call the Eagle Mom's Delicious Kitchen. I come there and do a live broadcast. Sometimes it takes an hour or more, but the intentionality there is that I show you from scratch how I wash the greens, how I chop them, how I chop the onions, how much of this I use. Sometimes I use the measurements. That is the way I do it. But now, after that, I then mentioned that I'm going to post a picture of the finished product of that process that I've done. That's how I do my food. However, the internet, if someone goes out there and has, this nice platter of food, they'll take pictures and they'll post things like fries, they'll post all the kind of foods that look flashy but
Yeah.
not healthy.
Yeah.
And that's
yeah.
not helping our young people, is it?
Yeah.
So going back to that question, how would I like to see that change? Maybe if people would make more YouTube videos showing how people can cook healthy, how they can explain, like watching like those tutorials,
Yeah.
cooking tutorials, that would be very helpful. For instance, when I was going for my cooking, when I went to my cookery school, it was during the summer holidays. So I took the two little ones with me, my 14-year-old and my 12-year-old, intentionally to show them that this is what we do.
Oh.
So I took them with me, along with me. It was a 3-week course. And they got into it. They came, they were allowed to see what was going on. They were interested. They can make their own pizza now.
Wow.
They can cook.
Oh.
So that changed everything.
Yeah.
So when we go visiting, like friends, like if there's a Ugandan party somewhere, people line up and start serving themselves.
Yeah.
And then my children come back and sit down. They don't have any food. And I say to them, why aren't you eating?
Yeah.
Mom, it's too oily.
Oh.
Mom, it's too this.
Yeah.
Now they can tell.
Yeah.
My daughter went away to university and spent about 3 months. And she came back and said, Mom, I really love your food.
Oh.
And yet before,
Yeah.
it was a different story. So, yeah.
But I mean, I guess, you're their mother,
Yeah.
and the apple doesn't fall too far
I
from the
know.
tree. So chances are they're going to learn to appreciate,
Yes.
the importance of actually having a relationship with food. The other thing I want to ask is, I know as a well-traveled person, you've been in Uganda, you've been to Germany, you've been to the UK. Each of these communities presents a different kind of ball game when it comes to food,
Right.
And it's very easy for us to say Africa is a very wealthy place in terms of food resources.
Yeah.
But ironically, we suffer the most from food-related issues, right?
Yes.
From deficiencies. As a person who has been to Uganda and Germany and the UK, when you look at these three places from a food point of view, which of these three places do you think, somebody can very easily kind of follow their diet to the to the letter? Which of these places do you think, if I lived here and I'm a foodie, I'm not going to survive? It's going to be tough, right? Or if you walked out of your house and went into a market, you could bump into an array of so many things, which are affordable. So how do you look at the food situation in Uganda, in Germany, in the UK? What's the difference?
Wow, that's a brilliant question. Thank you for that. So here's the thing. Because I'm very food oriented and I'm mindful when it comes to what I eat, I observed the food in all three countries.
Yeah.
So my experience in Germany, I'll start with Germany because that was the best food I ever ate.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. The Germans are so mindful about, not because I have a German husband, please, don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
The Germans are so mindful about the food that their people eat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much so that even a person who doesn't earn a huge income
Yeah.
can access organic food.
Oh,
There's
okay.
a lot of organic pieces everywhere.
Yeah.
In fact, in England, we have German supermarkets, Lidl and Aldi.
Yeah.
I always go to those ones because I know I'm going to get my organics.
Organics.
Affordably.
Oh, wow.
Affordably.
Okay.
So the food in Germany, I'll give it a thumbs up.
Okay.
If you know about food, if you know what you want, you can't get
You can't
lost
go
in
wrong,
it.
yeah.
You can't go wrong. It's affordable, it's available,
Yeah.
it's accessible, so that's number one.
Okay.
The food in the UK is not bad.
Yeah.
However, my experience having lived in Germany for 5 years and now returning to England,
Yes. Yes.
I couldn't eat any other food other than organic food.
Yeah, that's all you
Now
knew. And
there
that's,
is a catch there. The food in England, which is organic, if you're going to buy organic food,
Yeah.
you're going to pay a bit more.
Oh, okay.
Double, triple.
Oh,
And
okay.
trust you, I pay the price.
Yeah.
My
yeah.
body is the temple of the
Good
Lord.
things don't come cheap. Good things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing about
Yeah.
the UK. But other than that, you're going to buy any other basics.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, food in the Western world, most of it is, you know, some of it is canned food. The
Yeah.
chemicals are there.
Absolutely.
And all of that.
Yeah.
It's all depends on that, on
Yeah.
your preference.
Yeah.
The Bible says that my people suffer because of lack of knowledge.
Lack of knowledge. Yeah.
So when you know
Yeah.
better, you do better.
You make better decisions.
Uganda,
There you go.
we have a world of good food.
Yes, we
Like,
do.
we eat
Yes, we
organic
do.
food
Yes,
all
we
the
do.
way.
Yes.
We eat organic food all the way.
Yes.
Now, you asked about how Ugandans have ailments
Yeah.
that they shouldn't be having.
Because we have all this food, you know.
Again?
Well, what's the problem?
Lack of knowledge there.
Knowledge.
Because now, when I hear people saying that, oh, siso, I can't eat katunkuma or ntula,
Yeah.
because those are for poor people. Or I can't
Oh,
eat enkeje.
I see.
I can't eat enkeje.
Yeah.
I cannot eat mukene.
Yeah.
Now, mukene, enkeje, nothing as nutritious as that fish.
Absolutely.
Nothing, absolutely,
Absolutely.
nothing.
Yeah.
I buy enkeje in the UK
Yeah.
for, I don't know what, 20 pounds?
What?
A small bag like that if it's
Are you
really full.
serious?
Absolutely. I buy a box of matoke for 28 pounds. 28 pounds, a box of 8 kilos of matoke. I remember I once told the Asian, I say to him, but how can you sell me this box of matoke for 28 pounds? Just one bunch is like 10,000 Uganda.
Yeah.
He said to me, Madam, this is different matoke.
Eh.
This one I have to pay taxes, I have to get for it a visa.
Yes.
I have to fly it here.
Yeah.
And he was right. In Tula, I buy that much in Tula for about 8 pounds, 10 pounds,
Jesus.
because I know the value of it. So again, people need to be more educated and enlightened
Yeah.
on the goodness of those foods, and let them not even relate that to poverty.
Yeah. It's just healthy food.
Healthy.
Period.
It's healthy.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like every time, you know, you go to a market here
Yes.
in Kampala, there's like thousands of things, you know, that you can purchase.
Yes.
And it's saddening that we have, you know, so many children who are suffering from malnutrition and all these things. Because again, like you say, the lack of knowledge is what is killing our people, right?
Absolutely.
And which is why people like you who share that knowledge
Yes.
need to be applauded.
Thank you.
You know,
Thank you so
it's.
much.
I mean,
Thank you.
it's one thing to have somebody come from out there to tell your story, but it's good to have a daughter of the soil tell you that, look, I've moved around, and I think we have a good thing here. So that's a very, very brilliant thing.
Absolutely. Actually, Uganda, the best.
Yeah, very, very
Absolutely.
brilliant thing. And in your book also, in this same book, there's something you say about it's easier to learn the food of other people than it is to learn their language,
Right.
right? It's easier to learn their food
Yes.
and to appreciate their food than it is to learn their language. And that's why cuisines move, right?
Yes, absolutely.
When you go to a restaurant, there's all these continental dishes. They'll tell you there's European dishes, there's French dishes, there's Indian dishes, and it's easier to kind of adopt foods from out there. What as Ugandans, we have a bevy of products. We have so many foods that we enjoy here. But what are some of those things that you think perhaps like are not very popular here. But maybe we could also pick a leaf from outside of Uganda, because again, going back to the issue about how much food we have here, there's a lot of good stuff that we have here, but sometimes the goodness in what we have is just in understanding that if you have, let's say, if you have a fruit, there are about 10 different ways you can eat that fruit.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But we probably know only one.
Absolutely.
And yet the trouble is, somebody will come from out there, get that food, that same fruit, put it on a plane, take it out there, and create 10 different products.
Absolutely.
Right? I just want to ask, from the point of view of somebody who has again moved around, I want you to name for me just a few foodstuffs or a few things that you think we are really not giving that much attention, but these things out there, people would kill for them. People would kill for them. What are some of those things when you're like in the UK or in Germany, you're thinking, oh, I wish I was in Uganda, I wish I was back, I would have some of this, I would have some senene, or some swa. That's a wild language for some people who don't know these things. But yeah, what are some of those things that when you're here, you're like, I feel good to be back home, some of those foodstuffs?
Again, it goes back to the most, how can I put it? The ones that are despised the most.
Or the most despised.
The most despised food.
Yeah.
Katunkuma.
Yeah.
That's very good for heart health.
Yeah.
Intula. Mukene.
Yeah.
Mkeje.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right there. That falls in.
Yeah.
I saw something about seafood. That falls in the category of seafood.
Mm-hmm.
People think that if you want to eat, you have to eat seafood. You have to go and buy some salmon,
Some lobster,
or
some
lobsters.
expensive. Yeah.
No. You've got your seafood right there. I mean, those are seafood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seafood has a myriad of benefits.
What are organic foods anyway?
I think organic, for me, would simply mean the food that hasn't been tampered with.
Okay.
It has grown, there's no chemicals.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has been grown on the soils where it hasn't really been they haven't put all these chemicals and all of that.
Okay.
That is what
That's organic.
I would think organic food is.
Yeah.
However, people should be mindful, because some people say organic and yet it's really not organic.
Precisely. That's what I was getting at. Yeah. Like, what exactly is organic?
For example, for me, you can't know, because if you are, but there are some companies, like for example, the one in Sainsbury's, there's a huge supermarket called Sainsbury's in the UK.
Yeah.
There's the branding called SO Organics.
Okay. SO Organics.
SO Organics. Now those people have a big name.
Yeah.
It's so difficult for someone to tell you this is organic. Apart from when you've gone to someone's garden here
and seen it for yourself.
Seen it for yourself, and you know they've grown it there, they haven't tampered with it. It's food that is untampered with.
Okay.
And it's grown on that good soil.
That
I
is
would
organic
say.
food.
It's so difficult to distinguish. You
Absolutely.
have to be very mindful.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's also the free range, like how the free range chickens are grown
Yes.
on the farm and everything.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one.
It is. And,
It is,
in this day and era where everybody's trying to sell their product,
Absolutely.
it's easier for them to manufacture something and slap on the organic word. And, so you've got to be very careful, which is, again, takes me back to, for you to be able to see that difference, you have to have that personal relationship with your food.
Absolutely.
Right? You have to have that,
Absolutely.
that very,
passion for
that
food.
intense loving and longing for food.
Yes.
Now, as a mother,
Yes.
raising kids is never a walk in the park, right? And it's not. I mean, kids are stubborn. They're endlessly stubborn. They don't want to eat healthy. I mean, a good number of times, healthy things aren't necessarily the tastiest.
No.
And children are not very fun on those things,
Yeah.
As a mother, how are you able to ensure that, look, my children are going to eat healthy, And any other mother out there, what advice would you give them if they're trying to raise their children? First of all, to appreciate good food, but also to understand that it's not necessarily that healthy must taste bad, because there's this relationship you develop when you're young, because your parents want you to eat certain food. So naturally your mind starts to push that food aside and think this is not good because my parents are forcing me to eat it.
Yes.
And so when you grow up thinking, if I ever have a choice of my own, I'm not going to eat that. Yet that is healthy. What advice would you give to a mother or a parent or a dad who is raising their children and wants them to live healthy, to eat healthy? How am I going to raise my kids and convince them that KFC is not necessarily the best thing? We can do KFC once a while, right? But we shouldn't do it every day. How will you struggle with it? How as a parent are you managing this?
One simple piece of advice: involve them from the get-go. Involve them in the kitchen, go shopping with them, talk to them, have the conversations. When you're in the car and
Yeah.
you're going to do shopping, have the conversation in the car. Today we're going to cook this, we're going to cook greens. Greens are good for this. Make it fun. Let
Yeah.
it sound fun. Don't just put a plate of green peppers and say, eat them all.
Yeah.
It won't work.
Okay.
Involve them. Like, for instance, my daughter, my girl, I have cooked with her from the age of 4. People on Facebook have been seeing her from when she
Wow.
was very little. She's taller than me.
Really?
And sometimes if I really have to be serious and talk to them, I could wear my high heels so that they listen.
Yeah.
All there.
Yeah.
But from the get-go, I involve them. We go shopping together. We cook together. And then now, she tells me what's good.
Oh,
Absolutely. She comes to me and says, Mom, did you know that this and this is good for that?
the student has become the master.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So when you involve the children,
Yes.
even when they go out there, nobody is going to corrupt them.
Oh,
Because they know.
They know.
They
Yeah.
know not only from mother, but from experience.
Wow.
Nothing as good as involving them.
Involve your children.
Involve
As-
them.
For those of you who don't know, again, I will kindly remind you that these 2 books are on sale. Feel free to fork out a simple 30,000 shillings for each, right? As you walk out, tell your friends, your relatives, your in-laws, your colleagues, your neighbors, that the information that we need for us to live healthy lives is right here, and you don't need to conscript a foreigner or to conscript somebody from NASA or to conscript somebody from the We have the stuff right here.
Yes.
Doreen has dedicated a good chunk of her life to live the story so she can tell the story. And now as we kind of go to, there's a bit in this book that I wanted us to very quickly go through, yeah?
Okay.
Cheese, where's cheese? I want us to go through something very quickly here. Also, if you have some questions, yeah? I know some of you might have some questions lingering there about just get yourselves ready to ask. But I wanted us to read something. Let me see. I might have to pick a volunteer to read for me just a small part of the book, yeah? Just a few sentences here and there. Yes. There's a part here that I found very, very fascinating. First of all, it talks about the art and practice of everyday stillness.
Yes.
Which for me is a very, very profound, it's a very important part of our lives. Practicing gratitude, how it can help you to kind of eat mindfully and experience the calmness we are stripped of in today's busy life. I'm going to ask, let's see, I'm going to ask a volunteer. If you have the book on your table, or I can lend you mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. Just open. Yes. Just open page 229. Just
Get one of those.
Yes, one of those. Yes. Open page 229. I want you to quickly read for us page 229. I thought that was a very, very eye-opening 229. Okay. There we go. You see that part about gratitude, the art and practice of everyday stillness.
Okay.
Right. So just start from 1.
Gratitude, the art and practice of everyday
Marco, can you
stillness.
switch the mic on?
Or pull it closer. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Gratitude, the art and practice of everyday stillness. Practicing gratitude can help you eat mindfully and experience the calmness we are stripped of in today's busy life.
Carry on. Carry on.
1. Visualize the journey of food.
Visualize the journey of food. Go on.
Pause and imagine the fields and farmlands that produced the food on your plate. Think of all the efforts, care, and love devoted to raising the vegetables, fruits, and meat placed before you.
Just first stop right there. Think of all the efforts,
Yeah.
the care, and love devoted to raising the vegetables, fruits, and meat placed before you. I get the sense that throughout this entire book, when you visualize this journey of food, you pause and you think about where this food is coming from, think about the process that, I know that you are a spiritual person.
Yes.
And you pray quite a lot. I just want to find out from you, what relationship is there between food and peace of mind, food and calmness, food and your belief. What relationship is there?
Okay, I'll give you an example, a sort of a point of reference there.
Yeah.
Now, when you think about all of this intuitively, and very carefully,
Yeah.
you can go to the extent of thinking, for example, how are the animals slaughtered in the slaughterhouse?
Oh.
An animal which has been brutally slaughtered will taste different to an animal which has been calmly.
Is that so?
Absolutely. Because when
Wow.
when that animal is being slaughtered,
Yeah.
if it's brutally being killed, that's why people like halal meat. Because those animals are carefully put down.
Oh.
But these animals that are taken to the slaughterhouse to
Yeah.
be slaughtered, like just slaughtered,
Yeah.
it tastes
It
terrible.
tastes different.
Because what happens is there's a certain substance that goes into
Yeah.
different places. I keep forgetting how it's termed, but one of those substances goes into the all over the body,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a toxin.
Oh.
And it intoxicates
Okay.
the entire meat. So by the time that food is cooked and comes to the table,
It doesn't taste the same
tastes
as.
different, and it will change your mood.
Is that so?
Absolutely. It will change your mood.
It does?
If you look at people, I meditate a lot,
Yeah.
every day, sometimes half an hour, 45 minutes. If you look at the people who don't eat healthy, they're not happy. They're
Wow.
absolutely not happy. For instance, if people choose to go for, say, for instance, food that is on the aisles, because I'm not going to keep saying to you, just go and cook all your food and everything. If you choose to, say, go and buy some foods on the shelves,
Yeah.
in the words of Michael Pollan, don't go for food that has more than 5 ingredients. When you can read the ingredients
Yeah.
and you even stop pronouncing them,
Yeah.
they have those different
Yeah.
pronunciations.
Then
Stop
there's a
and
problem.
think, pause, meditate, think about it. Why does this food have 5 ingredients?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what
It's
happens.
very
there.
deep. Huh?
It
It's very
is.
deep. I think, I think I'm starting to get the feeling that, food is no longer just food.
Absolutely.
It's not just let me have lunch and go on with my day, or let me have dinner and then go to bed or whatever. Food is an activity that requires its own time, requires its own, requires you to be fully involved. And the ugly truth is, in today's world, first of all, nobody has that much time, right? Unfortunately, nobody has that much time. And so you have to be intentional.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to be intentional. That if I'm going to feed well, if I'm going to live healthy, I have to make the time,
Yeah.
right? I have to make the time to pay attention to the ingredients
Absolutely.
and see what are these 25 ingredients? Why do you need 25
Why are they
ingredients to
here?
make something?
Exactly.
And why is it that this thing has a shelf life of say 4-5 months? Really? So all these things are things that kind of make me get this understanding that the relationship one has with food is a relationship that constantly needs to be, kind of, held, kind of cuddled. You've got to look at it like it's a child, so you raise it. And for me, again, I just want to get a sense from you, as a person who has interfaced with food on a very, very personal level. I'm a person who I would like to say is going to try, to live and eat healthy. What are some very simple things, like a simple recipe, right? Like a simple thing that even I will be like, this doesn't require a lot of work. I think, I can do this. And yet, out there, the assumption is for me to live healthy, there's a lot of suffering I must go through. I have to sacrifice so many things. I have to. And yet there are simple things that I could do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What are some of those very easy, simple things that, somebody can do to have a healthy meal? Maybe, include more, I don't know, vegetables or cereals, or I don't know. What are some of those very simple things that somebody can do to just get in love with food, so to say? Because as for you, you're in love with food. How do we also fall in love with food?
You can just make it a daily practice. Like if you don't have much time, and I'm not going to get away from the vegetables, I'm not going to sugarcoat this.
Yeah.
Walk into a market without even thinking organic.
Okay.
Grab the cabbage, the lettuce,
Yeah.
the this, the that, the that. Grab a lettuce, for instance.
Yeah.
Tomatoes, onions. Chop that. Chop the onions.
Yeah.
Chop the tomatoes. Put a drizzle of olive oil and put salt,
Yeah.
vinegar. Have your lunch or something.
Just like that.
Just easy. Don't cook
That's so
anything.
easy. That's
Don't
really-
cook anything.
Just eat it just like that.
Just eat it just like that. It will fill you up.
Yeah.
There's some days I've had to go hungry because I haven't found
What you need,
something
like,
suitable
yeah.
for me. Carry water with you. Because
Water.
every time, don't go shopping hungry because you're going to pick anything.
Okay.
And the only way you're not going to go shopping hungry is when you keep refilling with water. Water is crucial.
Yeah.
Move around with 3-4 little bottles of water. Take a couple of sips.
Yeah.
You won't feel hungry. Then it will give you time to think, what do I eat now? What do I go for?
Yeah.
But very quickly, if you want something, grab lettuce. You can do that every day.
Every
It
day.
won't harm you.
Yeah.
You
That's.
know?
I think water is like the easiest thing. It's friendly.
Yes.
It's right there. It's accessible,
Exactly.
and yet we ignore it.
Again, think.
Yeah.
This is my body. This body carries you.
Yeah.
It takes you everywhere. What are you putting in your body?
Yeah.
You are what you eat.
You
If
are
you're not
what you
going to
eat.
fuel your body properly, how is it going to serve you?
Good point. Good point. Good point. Yeah, I'm going to ask. I know there are a couple of questions in the house before we proceed. If you have some questions, feel free to perhaps raise your hand, switch on the microphone, and then you can ask her. I'm assuming you probably want to ask for a recipe or something because that might be a bit complex. Do follow her on her socials. You'll be able to get those recipes. But if you have some questions about this garden to gut, which for me is I did not think that because this book kind of says your health, both your physical and your spiritual, is very, very much hinged on your food, the food that you consume.
It is.
So if you keep yourself healthy, especially starting from the gut, because again, the book talks about the importance of looking after your gut, making sure that
Yes.
the right things are getting in there, so that when your body is in a good state, your mind is in a good state, your spirit is in a good state. There is also another part here that I recall very, 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 very much. I just wanted very quickly to where is it? Yes, cooking enhances mindfulness.
Yes.
Look, I can cook, right?
Yeah.
I probably won't cook for a food critic. My food will be horrible, but I can cook to get by.
That's
I can,
what you think.
yeah. Well, that's yeah, and I'm coming to that because
Okay.
as a person who just cooks ordinary stuff, I can cook my food and have my lunch, have my
Yeah.
supper. Is there more that I can do, really? Because here you talk about how cooking enhances mindfulness. Yeah, the daily grind of life in this fast-paced world keeps us distracted from time for ourselves. Mindful living is not a practice based on science; it's a continual process of self-analysis. Cooking is a journey towards self-awareness. Cooking, you as a person who loves cooking, what has cooking taught you about yourself? Right? Because cooking is, it kind of introduces you to self-awareness. You start to realize what you're capable of. You start to realize your highs, your lows, perhaps. When you're sad, you're thinking maybe cooking gets you out of the... What has cooking done for you?
Cooking has taught me how creative I am. It has reminded me how creative I am. Because people always ask me, what's your favorite recipe? And I used to have to think a lot, what's my favorite recipe? Now, my favorite recipe is the one that I do that comes to mind straight away.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I get into the kitchen and I don't have
And you
the
don't know what-
exact
yeah.
ingredients for the particular recipe that I want to make. And then I say to myself, we're going to make do with what we have.
Okay.
So I look in my refrigerator and I see, okay, we've got this, we've got that, we've got that. Can't I put this together? How about if I put this? So I've learned that I can be creative. Sometimes I've made recipes and called them names that never existed. And people were like, wow,
Yeah.
the kajamba was good.
Yes.
And I called it that.
And you get away with it.
I do.
Yeah, but I mean that's what food experts or foodists, that's what they do. You create a recipe
Yeah.
and you throw on a name, and
Absolutely.
people embrace it, and suddenly it's a
Yeah.
world famous recipe. Do you have any recipes that you hold close to your heart and you're not willing to share with the world because you secretly know this? Do you have some recipes? Because when we were growing up, a number of us were told that your grandmother has some recipe for some meal
Yes.
that she can't share with anybody. But when you eat that food, you're like, oh my God, this is so good. You've never tasted it anywhere. Do you have some recipes that you secretly hold on to and you think, this is close to my heart?
A mixed vegetable soup.
What is that? Mixed vegetable
First
soup. What is that?
It started out as a leek and potato soup.
Okay.
And then turns out my husband and I are people who like to eat ketogenically. Like
Oh,
we like
okay.
the keto
Yeah, that keto diet. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That doesn't incorporate any carbohydrates.
Yeah.
So we're doing just protein.
Okay.
So I thought, how are we going to do this without potato? Then I thought, okay, leek, asparagus, anything, throw it in there.
Throw it in
Green
there.
peppers, everything. Onions, spring onions, anything. Vegetable, all sorts of vegetables, you name it. Throw them in that pot. Fry them a bit with a bit of onions, garlic,
Yeah.
of course, herbs and the spices that you want.
Yeah.
Do a mix, blend that. Scrumptious.
Really?
Scrumptious. Go do it tonight.
I'm just picturing it in my head.
Mouth watering.
Yeah, it feels. I'm going to try that.
Do.
I'm going to try.
And it's not complicated because
Yeah, it seems very easy. It's
even
just
spinach goes. Anything goes. As
Really?
long as it's a vegetable.
Wow.
Anything.
okay.
Yes.
So what are we going to call this? What are we calling it? What are we calling it?
The Doreen vegetable soup.
The Doreen vegetable soup, right? Yeah. If so, yeah. If you take away something from here today, at least take the Doreen vegetable soup recipe. There you go. Okay. So yeah, a couple of questions, please.
Thank you very much, Pastor Mitchell here. Thank you, Doreen, for sharing these wonderful and very important pieces. I have 3 questions. You talked about the grounding,
Yes.
your spiritual grounding, how that formed you. How would you advise a parent in this generation today with internet and social media? How can a parent that is struggling to raise their children based on their beliefs, how would you advise them to go about that in this world? Because I guess that's not the world of the 70s that you were raised in. Then coming to the garden to gut,
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. I'm not very good in the kitchen. I rarely even want to go there. Luckily, I've interacted with your mom a lot, and she does share with us a lot of things about food. But one of the questions that I have right here, because from your exposure to all these different cultures and cuisines, Africa, in a way, has food poverty, and yet we raise a lot of food, we grow a lot of food, but yet there is food poverty. So I'm thinking, what's the relationship between nutrition, cuisine, and taste? Because I was taken aback a few days ago. There's this research ranking that came out about the 50 best cuisines in the world. And of the 50 best, Africa had only 3 countries. Low ranking. All the best are out there, and we think we are growing the best food, and people come here and tell us it's the best. So is it the food that has issues? Is it how it's being prepared, or is it how it's being presented? And how do you think, as somebody that has this platform, how are you going to promote African cuisine, especially Ugandan cuisine that didn't appear there at all? I think we had South African, Tunisian, and what was the other one? I forget it. So how do you think about African cuisine, and how can we promote that? Then my final question is about you, the writer.
Yeah.
When and how did you get the motivation and inspiration to write? Because I know many people out there have ideas and they have wonderful information, but getting down to write, and I think this will be very important for people that want to start to write. If you can share with us how you got to decide that now my story, my cooking have to get into a book. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to start with the last one, but not least. When and how did you get the motivation to write? So the thing is this. From very early on as a child, yeah? That beautiful mother of mine there, she made me consume books. From the age of 6, I remember, she used to buy, from the age of 6, I started to read mini novels. Like, I read the, was it Gulliver Travels? Then I read the Treasure Island. Then all the most boring books you would ever think of. She would just storm into the door from work, and she'd be like, how many pages did you read today? How far have you gone? What did you think of Gulliver Travels? And I'm thinking, gosh, it was so excruciating, but I had to memorize it all. And then by the time she walked into the door, I had to have a story for her. Then she bought a stack of Ladybird books, from all of them, from the first stages to the, I don't know what stages. Remember the read it yourself. Read it yourself. I can't even put a number to those books. And then she got a very smart cousin of mine. She's passed, God rest her soul in peace, Joanne. She got Joanne to come home and train us to read. Like, reading was like a job. You've got to do it. So in the beginning it felt like that, but later on, this is what it produced. I got into writing. So it all goes back to what Mom has done. Yes, and then about the grounding, how would I advise the parents struggling with children in this fast-paced world? How would I advise them regarding?
Because you say who you are is
Yes.
because of how you were raised.
Yes.
With
yes.
your faith and that you picked from your parents. And I'm saying today there's so many things that are competing for the child's attention.
Yes.
The children have phones, smartphones, they're on the internet, they're on social media, they are away in school. And so today it's a bit different. So how would you advise a parent that's currently struggling raising their child right?
Raising children has never been easy. And there's no manual to that. You don't walk out of the hospital with a manual saying, okay, when you get home, unpack the baby, and this is what you do from A to B, C. There's nothing like that. But what I believe is best is to have a personal relationship with your children, no matter what. Have the one-to-ones. They are struggling with their own things. They have their own adolescent things going on, hormonal changes. So they themselves don't even understand themselves. Yeah, but when you bring them closer, nothing lights up a child's face like that big smile you give them when they walk in the door, when they come home. You know, that has even scientifically been proven. Even if it's fake, put it on. Be like, wow, how was school? I know my children walk in the door when they're knackered, they're tired, and they walk in, what have you cooked? You know, that kind of thing. Hi, Mariah, how was school? You know, just put that smile on, have that relationship, no matter how they're treating you. Children know. They know when mom is around. All they need is you. They don't need money, they don't need gadgets. You can treat them here and there, but the most important thing is that mother-parent-child relationship. You know, teach them about God. Teach them the Bible. My son recently traveled for the first time unaccompanied to Germany. He visited a family of a lady who's got a couple of troublesome sons. And these kids she's a friend of mine, she's Russian, and they kept saying things that were unspeakable to the mom, and they kept, they were rude. And he kept saying to them, no, you don't talk to your mom like that. You don't do that. And then the lady, she called me and said, your son is a blessing. He's a gift. You know, that kind of thing. She could tell. And then Miles, he wanted to be nice, so he told the mom, don't worry, I was once like that. And I told him, you shouldn't have said that. You've never been like that. Because he's always nice. So that relationship is crucial, you know. And then the other, what's the other one? What's the relationship between cuisine and what?
Cuisine, taste, and nutrition. I'm especially concerned about African food. That you talked about organic.
Yes.
Which is an issue all of itself, because today even how we grow our own food here has questions. But why is African food not known internationally? Is it the issue of the food? Is it how it is prepared? Or is something not getting done right?
Oprah once said that if you're going to change somebody's life, you would have to start with the mind. There's no such thing as poverty food. There's no such thing as poverty food. It's poverty mindset. You know, if people's minds can be changed, if people can have an education, they could start to do these things. Can fall in place, just simply, and they don't have to put their mind so much on cuisine or this or that. Just flow, do what you have to do. But educate themselves. People need an education. They need a learning into these things. If they don't educate themselves, they're not going to get anywhere. So it starts with the mindset. Educate yourself, and then everything else will flow. It certainly has nothing to do with the food, because the food is arguably some of the best food is from Uganda. The best food in the world.
So it's just the mindset.
The mindset. People need an education in these things. If people are educated more and more about food and what it does, and if they get that interest, they have to do it for themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, I want to thank you for educating through these books. Because they say you've got to practice what you preach. And while you're saying educating the mind is a very important thing, educating our people is a very important thing, this goes a long way in kind of, educating them and showing them the importance of and the value of all these good foods that we despise around us, all these good things that we have around us that we are kind of underlooking. It pains me in many ways that while Africa is the world's food basket, so to say, we are struggling. We are the same people who, would rather have a KFC than have, your authentic greens and stuff like that. But so I thank you again for this. As already mentioned, telling your story to the world is not necessarily the easiest thing. Sometimes it's not even fun.
No.
Because, you kind of have to undress yourself and let the world see you for who you truly are. It can be scary. And I know it was scary for you doing this. But look, you've done it. You know, you've done it. You know, and I'm also confident and sure that after this story, there's going to be more stories. At least I hope there will be more stories, yeah? Because education is a never-ending journey, is it not? I mean, because until you die. So you've shared this, but I also know there's a lot more that you can share with us, including a few more Doreen patented, recipes. And maybe someday your girl, who is most likely going to be better than you at this, will take on, because like I said, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and I think you're raising her really, really well. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I don't know if there are some more questions.
Yes, can I say something?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Anne Mohire. Doreen, I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, Anne.
I'm very, very
so
proud
much.
of you. You've actually demystified the old adage that you are what you eat. When I just look at you, I really think and believe that people are what they eat. You look very well.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Anne.
You look very well, very poised.
Please don't eat me.
I don't know where the nerves you talked about went,
Right,
but you've done
right.
this very, very, very well. Maybe before I give my remark, I want to also introduce my friend, a very celebrity in this country, Doreen. He's called Maurice Mujisha. He is actually the ED. Yeah, you see those who know him are already clapping. Maurice is very kind to join us this morning at very short notice. Thank you for your modesty that you were able to show us by appearing here at very short notice when I invited you for my cousin's launch. Maurice is the Deputy ED of UBC, and while I was about to ask for you to be hosted live on his station, he had already offered. He said that, but he should say that for himself.
I thought you said you had a question or comment about the book. Hi, really honored, and I'm glad she did insist I come. I don't think there's so many men my age who are interested in the kitchen, because like you said, when we were growing up, there was that differentiation of who needed to be where at what time. So we were told to be elsewhere. So we were the water guys and the firewood people, and the ladies were in the kitchen, which was also unfortunate. And I now have 2 daughters. And I always tell them it's going to be difficult for them to find a husband or a boyfriend like me, because I make breakfast for them when I can. So this really is good for me. I will be taking a book home because I think it's important that we eat healthy, and I'm excited that you speak to the fact that what we eat really is who we are. And I agree with Anne. You look like you're 30. So I think I need to go and do much better with my daughters so they can look like you when they turn your age. And so this is a blessing for a lot of our young people. And I'm glad I saw some of our people from UBC here who are covering this. But I'm excited that maybe we can find some time, and I was looking at your schedule, talking to your brother here, seeing how we can fix this and give you some airtime. But nonetheless, let us know when you can. We will provide airtime. There is a lot of platforms we have on television we can provide for you, because this needs to reach as many people as possible. And then what we'll do while we have that show, normally we stream it online. So we are able to keep the clip in case you want to share with other people who may not reach you quickly. You're able to share with them the interview and a preview of the book. So I'm really excited,
Thank you. So
and
am
I'm
I.
glad I came.
Thank you very much for making it short notice as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maurice. I hope my cousin Doreen can forgive me. She can forgive me for all the late coming and all the people that should have been here. So Doreen, like Maurice has said, it's very important when we consider what we eat.
Yes.
Now, for me, it is where do you draw the line? Because if I enter the kitchen and I have to cook this and, everything is as delicious as it looks, I mean, where do you get the self-control to know? Because if you put in so much of anything, it's bad, okay? So where do you draw the line, Doreen? You love to eat, you still look good, and yet you may not have the self-control. If I took my kids, my boys, you know how big they are. If I introduce them to this kind of cooking,
I know.
I mean, they would just become obese. So for the kids, maybe it works for the children that don't love eating, because the people who just have to force to eat. Myself, I don't really love food that much. The reason I look how I look. But where do you draw the line? And then I've heard about mixing foods, carbohydrates or proteins. You just need to eat one thing at a time. If you are a certain blood group, you don't have to eat this. I struggle with my husband, likes tomatoes, and your mom once told me that if you're O plus, then you don't eat tomatoes. And he said, no, to hell with that. I mean, how do you discipline yourself? Is it something that's doable? Is it something you need to learn? I'll be happy to hear more information on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Anne. That's a brilliant question. I'll tell you, I always speak from experience, because experience is the best teacher, as they say. And what you've experienced is it will never be less, than what you've learned, say in school before a blackboard or anything. So experience really is it. So when I embarked on the ketogenic diet, because keto means protein, only protein stuff. You eat fish, obviously the vegetables and everything, you exclude carbohydrates. There is a way you get into the ketogenic state. Science has proved that babies are always in a ketogenic state. So the ketogenic state, because babies suckle on milk, children who breastfeed for many years, and you still see the child is healthy, and you're thinking, this child doesn't even eat meat, but look at the kid. That baby, because we were all meant naturally to be in a ketogenic state, it's the safest state to be. Keto, I have learned. I first started the ketogenic diet I did it for about a straight 8 years. But then that disciplined me, because when you're in that state, when you're only eating protein stuff, you're so disciplined that you don't even snack on other things. You're not craving other things. I don't know what is in carbs that makes people not disciplined, but the ketogenic state disciplines somebody. So much so that even when you stop it after you've been on it for a long time, there's a certain discipline you maintain for the longest time. So I didn't do it for like 2 years. Then I met my husband, and I found, lo and behold, he was doing the ketogenic diet. So I nipped right back into it. And it's brilliant. I must say I don't even go to the gym, which is a shame. But I walk, I do, motherhood is gym. So excuse me. I do a lot of things. So yeah, keto, if you can try that, you won't have any complaints. Try the ketogenic diet. It's good, and it's tasty. It's not boring. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, do we have some more? Yeah.
My name is Ali Asaba. I'm the reporter from UBC, my boss. I acknowledge your presence. I should be interested to know, table manners are shifting with all social media and all. Yeah. Man tends to want to multitask, where they are eating. I, for one, I can't help myself, When I'm eating, I have my other eye on my phone. Yeah. And it's something that's not really right, considering, but it looks like many people are struggling with it. I remember I grew up in the village where I would sit on a mat and eat from the same, platter or such thing. And nowadays, I think we've tended to get a little bit, I would call it selfish, from the mat to the table. And you eat from your own plate and all that. So I should be interested to know, what are your views about multitasking while at table? Is it bad manners, table manners? How do we reconcile it? Because it's something we don't seem to do well in that regard. Thank you.
That's a brilliant question. Thank you for that. Now, multitasking, it's a plague that has caught this, especially today's society. Like, people are on their phones, even kids, at table. But then again, it strips you of that calmness, that groundedness, to be present. Because food, like I said, it's a way of meditation. You have to sit there. In fact, there is a way they talk about even the number of times you chew your food. They go that far. I think that's a little bit on the high side. But, when you can concentrate on your food without having, again, to be on your phone or call or do it helps transport the food as well. Don't forget the connection of the gut and the brain, because they say the gut is there's a second brain, so there's a whole connection there, mind, body, and soul. So again, discipline. It's a matter of discipline. There's no easier way of doing it. You just tell yourself, I'm going to pay attention. For me, when I'm having my dinner, I'll sit down and eat my food, and when I'm done, I'll do some other things. But you don't eat and then be on the phone and do discipline. Just a matter of discipline. Can be hard at the beginning, but when you start to get into it, you can maintain that.
Yeah,
I believe.
I guess the overwhelming word is discipline, like you say.
Yes.
Just to understand that this food deserves your undivided attention.
Absolutely.
Right? And also, if you give the food undivided attention, chances are it will reciprocate.
Yes.
Right? It will pay you back, in the sense that you'll get a lot more out of it because you're giving it attention, as opposed to dividing that attention between the food and a TV screen, or a mobile phone, or conversation or whatever. That's why when you're growing up, your parents tell you don't talk when you're eating.
Yes.
It's not that they don't want you to speak, but they want you to pay attention to the
Yes,
food
to be
be present in that activity that is eating. There's a couple more questions. Yes.
Doreen, where do we see this after 5 years? You've launched the book. We are taking, yeah?
Yeah.
How many are we here in the room compared to the whole country population?
Yeah.
And I believe we all need this.
Yeah.
My second concern is this. How is the grassroots mom going to benefit from this? Someone who cannot read, someone who cannot write,
Yeah.
and she has children, she has parents who are grown up and cannot be helped because of food. I believe our modulator mentioned something like food is medicine. True, I believe food is medicine. But where do we see this, and how is the grassroots person going to benefit this? Because this is of great value. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The most practical way of getting that content to someone like that is to translate that information into the mother tongue.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the way I would see that.
Yeah. Plus,
happening.
we've also been given the offer
Yes.
from UBC. They've got so many platforms, and I think, if
Yes.
I'm not wrong, UBC is the most watched and listened to station in the country, down to the grassroots, right? So chances are it's going to the grassroots. So, yeah, maybe the other thing, there's the other question you had asked.
Yeah.
There was the second question about so the question was, how do you see this going to the grassroots? Then, in 5 years from now,
Yes.
I mean, what next? Like I had already told you, we expect something else already.
Oh, right.
Our expectations are high,
The
so
next thing that's
what do we
coming on the
expect?
scene is spiritual.
Okay.
I'll tell you what happened. I have written that book since 2018. Because as soon as I completed Iron Eagle Mom, I felt the need to speak about that condition, the constipation, because then already I had started to get into the food business and I had started to see the results of how it had helped. Now, the other thing that helped the speed of that writing was also the pandemic. I mean, what did we do all the day? We just sat there and ate and drank, and what I did is write. So I did a lot of that. So, what was the question? In 5 years. So yes, prior to that, I was writing a spiritual book, which is transformation from the inside out. Little did I know that I was going to be met with a man of God, who was, I would say, the last missing piece of the puzzle, you know. But that book had incorporated, because all of this is transformation with the Eagleman book, and then obviously you can't transform your life without food, and then you can't transform your life without spirituality. So if there's anything to come on the scene, it's going to be very, very spiritual, very,
Okay.
which is the closest thing to my heart.
Okay.
Yes.
So we should expect. We are right to expect.
Sometime.
Brilliant. Brilliant. We're about to be wrapping up. But again, so where can somebody get these books? You know, where can somebody get these books?
Books are already on Amazon. As a matter of fact, I've got an audio already out of Garden to Gut.
Okay.
That's on Amazon as well. It's
All right.
accessible.
Okay.
For those people who are lazy readers, you can just pop that audio on and listen when you're driving.
Yeah.
That audio is out there.
Okay.
I've got a workbook, which is how I work with the book. The workbook is there. Can you pass it to me, darling?
Okay, sorry.
So this is how I do my coaching.
Okay.
Of course, this is the book, but in the format of,
All right.
of teaching that information, because I believe that this information shouldn't only remain in the book, but it should be taught.
Okay, so how does somebody get this one?
So that one, someone who purchases those books and is interested
Yeah.
in learning more,
Yes.
I'm here to teach them more. So that's like a course.
Okay.
So they would have to purchase a course and work with me.
And I see the introduction here. There's a very bold question. Do you love food?
Absolutely. So
Do
those are
you love food?
the initial questions I ask when
Okay. So this is somebody can enroll for this with you.
Yes.
Okay,
Because
fabulous.
I feel the urge, if there's anything I'd like to teach,
Yeah.
this information is crucial.
Yeah, no, it is. It really is. It
If
really,
people-
really is.
People cannot even, because I know reading is not for everyone.
Yeah.
Some people find it, I mean, that's a long story. I have my hairdresser there. She said, "Oh, don't give me books,"
Yeah.
she says to me. But if I know that the people there, they like the information, but they don't want to read, they don't want to listen, but they're happy to learn.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to hold their hand and take them through that.
Yeah, we're happy that you're sharing this information with us. We really
Thank
are. Yeah, as a Ugandan,
Yes.
it warms my heart when Ugandans inform fellow Ugandans, because it's only we're going to go forward, right? So again, I want to thank you, Doreen,
Thank you very much.
for these books,
Yeah.
for making time to be here with you, for dragging your family here. They're wonderful people. They
Thank
did a
you.
brilliant job.
Thank you so much.
And if you don't tell them that,
Yeah.
then something is wrong. Yeah,
I'm honored.
they did
Thank
a
you very
very
much
brilliant
for
job.
that.
Yeah. I there's a question. Yes. Well,
particular
I was trying to reserve one last segment for when we are winding up.
Okay.
But since you're hungry for it, I don't see why not. Yeah, there's a couple of interesting bits and pieces that I want. There's one particular one I want us to. Okay, let me see. And this one is specifically because of the conversation around, multitasking and all these things and eating while you do so many other things.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to just
So how far can I go?
maybe just read
Yeah.
up to there.
All right,
Just
okay.
yeah.
So this is found on page 146, chapter 5, Food and Society. Social-cultural impact of cooking and eating. Modern society faces some challenges around food. Among them, the fact that we seldom reflect on its origins, our fast-paced world, full of takeout and mindless eating while focusing more on devices, means we're not registering the food and not truly connecting to our source, our nourishment, and one another. Fortunately, there is increasingly more attention being paid to regaining the value of healthy eating and connecting. Small changes can bring about remarkable health benefits. Work and food. We are constantly rushing and have a malnourishing mania around multitasking. Commonplace are working meetings, working lunches, signing proposals, and deals over dinner. We're trying to save time, but at what cost? Question mark. Enjoyable, soulful practices are often placed on the back burner, so we often miss out on the taste, texture, aromas, and flavors of our food. We may be fueled up, but it isn't the most fulfilling experience.
I think that's a very nice way to kind of wrap it up. Yeah. The summary being that the society has changed. The society has changed. You want to do so many things at a go, so you can be ahead of the curve. But at what cost? That's the question. At what cost? You know, you're not interfacing with the aroma. You're not interfacing with the taste. You're not interfacing, with the goodness of the food. And that's a harsh and sad reality. But it also says there is hope. And the hope is in form of things like this that remind you that your food is as important as your other tasks. So while you're executing your other tasks, remember that food itself is a task of its own that has to be executed independently and alone. So again, thank you very much for this wonderful information. The books are accessible. Feel free to buy as you head out, or even to order, or to get in touch with her and ask for books for schools, for students. I know some of you might want to buy 10, 20, 30, 40 books, and also to take to the grassroots, right? As we wait for the translation, right? And as we wait for her to feature on UBC and the UBC platforms. Again, thank you. Thank you to everybody who has made time to be here. It's a Thursday, right? And you could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with us. That means a lot. And on behalf of herself and myself, and Kiza, who has done a very, very brilliant job, I have to mention this. That lady there in white, yeah. She's the reason why this place looks fancy, why it looks very, very nice, and why we're here in this very prestigious hotel. She was running around yesterday and the day before, and she had all these headaches, all these phone calls, and trying to put the thing together. You do a very, very brilliant job.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor for me to work with her. I work with her quite a lot, and she makes my work very, very, very easy. Yeah, so once again, thank you for making time to be here. There is a gentleman at the back there in a bow tie with whom you can, have a conversation. There is stuff there that you can consume before you go out. The things on your table as well, I think had to be consumed, are they not? Yes. And pictures, we have this, we have that thing there. Feel free to take a picture with it that we shall share, or that you can share with your people. And finally, again, thank you for making time to be here. I'm going to wish you all a lovely and fantastic day. Before I sign out, Doreen, just one last word to your people. As we wrap this up.
Yeah. I'd like to thank everybody who took time out of their precious, valuable time to be here and listen to Simple Me. Thank you very much. I feel so blessed, so honored, so loved And I am so full of gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, and one final thing as we wrap up, we don't normally do this, but I'm going to request the Reverend Canon, yeah, to give us a closing prayer, because I was feeling a bit uncomfortable, yeah, when you have a man of God in your presence and you don't take the opportunity, you know, you don't, so he'll give us a closing prayer, and then we can be on our way.
I run an institute, Forgive for Hope Institute, that I started with money that I got from the the World Vision Award, because I was concerned about how do we live in a world where people lack education. That a young person is there and they are not in a school, they are not in a training, they are not in employment. And Doreen was talking about it. And she repeated it many times. What people need is education. They need to be educated. They need, and I'm there like, okay, so this is another pattern at work with. Oh no. And then we have 8 courses that we give the children, the young people. And one of them is cookery and hospitality. So now the first people you will team up to coach is the class 2023 at Forgive Hope Institute. Dear Lord, we thank you for this time. With you there are no accidents. And you've planned it and you have brought this to pass. We thank you for Doreen. We thank you for her dear husband and all the family, starting from the parents. We've heard many times the parents being referred to as the foundation. Indeed they are. And so we want to take this time that each person in this room remembers parents and the guardians who would want the best for their children, but they are unable to give it. Lift one. If you know them with the name, just mention the name to God. If you don't know, just give a general prayer for parents who would want to give their best, but they don't have the information, they don't have the time, they don't have the peace of mind, they don't have the spirituality. They even don't have love, because you can't give what you don't have. Lord, have mercy to such families, to such people. Have mercy on us who are struggling also with our own children, because we have heard what the parents of Doreen Mwesigwa did. That is a foundation, and now she's a fountain to her own children and to many more children. Bless us as we move. Bless the time and whatever fruit that will come out of this conversation and these books. And when we meet again, let's meet when people have testimonies of breakthroughs, of triumphs, of transformations because of this encounter. In the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.